I'm Dr. Sivakumar, Vice Principal of this college, is speaking to you. Please ask your friends to join this meeting immediately. It's getting already delayed. Ask your fellow friends to join the meeting immediately. Maybe in a couple of minutes we have to start the program. Morning to all of you. Please ask your friends to join the meeting immediately.
Shivakumar sir, sorry for the inconvenience. Reshmy ma'am's system is she's
problem with my laptop. Now it's fine.
Can we start, ma'am?
Yes, sorry.
ma'am, I have made you host, ma'am. You can screen share.
Yeah.
So let's officially start.
Yes, sir.
Can we, ma'am?
We can
Yeah.
officially start.
Yeah. Morning, friends. Today's expert on this particular topic. This is Reshmy Vijay from Education Matters, faculty fraternity and student fraternity. Good morning to all of you once again. Of course, this program can be of bilingual in nature. The ultimate objective of this program is to see that what are all the avenues which are available for the engineering graduates like you. When you get graduated, what are all the opportunities which are available in other countries for further studies or in job market? You may be thinking that this is a pandemic period and why should we learn about this particular thing? In fact, I can tell you this is the right time to talk about this. You have another 6 months time if you are a final year student, or 1 year, 6 months time if you are a third year student. By that period, definitely pandemic will be over. That's what positive signs are showing. British has withdrawn all the lockdown standard procedures. So I hope all of our student friends can learn and ask more your doubts on this particular webinar. And for the past few months, I can see that many of our students, even those who have secured average in academics, has opted for higher education at foreign countries. I can name few, but you may not be knowing them. That's why I don't want to name them. Those students who have not shined in their academic work, but after some period of time, they think that they thought that higher education will be of use to them, and they go to foreign countries, especially European countries. Hope this program will be an eye-opener. You may not be knowing where to contact, how to contact, and there should be a reliable source for you. All those things you can learn from them. Hopefully from their website also you can get to know more about the particular process. I'm not going to be the barrier because already we are late by 15 minutes. The stage is open to you, and Madam Reshmy ma'am, please go ahead with your program, and students, please ask your doubts. Please ask your doubts whenever required. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shivkumar sir, for giving me an opportunity to address your students. It's both an honor and a privilege to be here. I'm sorry for the slight delay. There were some problems with my network, and it was going off and coming on. So sorry for the inconvenience caused. So at the onset, I would like to thank all the students for taking time out of their busy schedule to attend this session. Also take this opportunity to thank the management, placement officer, faculty, students of both King's and Hindustan University who are present here today. My session, I hope, will be informative. It is to give students information about the various destinations that students can look at. And I'm going to give you the latest developments in each of these destinations so that it becomes easier for you to decide if you are looking at an opportunity to go abroad and study, what you should be looking at, what are the things that you should be doing, how can you recover your investment. Some students believe that, yes, it is expensive going abroad to study. How do I recover those investments? So all this will be covered in this session. Okay. Now, earlier, when students used to go abroad to study, let's say earlier, like pre-independence, some believed that, it is to gain knowledge. So you have the likes of Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Jawaharlal Nehru, Manmohan Singh, all of them going abroad to study to gain knowledge. Then, as time progressed, students went to study abroad to improve their quality of life. Okay. So you will have a lot of your relatives, uncles, aunts, older cousins, brothers, who are all abroad, who have tried to improve the quality of life. But now we see students who are going abroad are heading multinational Fortune 500 companies. And the perfect example is Satyam Shivam Sundaram, right? Satya Nadella, Shivanadar, Mr. Shivanadar, and Sundar Pichai. They are all Indians who have migrated to US and are heading some of the biggest global companies in the world. And it is not just in terms of, industries that you can look at. If you look at UK, who's the finance minister? It is Mr. Narayana Motri's son-in-law, Mr. Rishi. And he is touted to be the next Prime Minister of UK. He's in the forefront of being the Prime Minister of UK. If you look at London, which is the hub for finance besides New York and Tokyo, the mayor of London is a Pakistani by origin, and the deputy mayor is Indian. So you have one of the financial hubs, largest financial hubs in the world, being controlled by the mayor who is of Pakistani origin and who is the deputy. The deputy mayor is a gentleman of Indian origin who went to UK only in 2004 or 2007. So you can see how, as time progresses, a lot of Indians are not just shining in India, but even abroad, they are shining quite a bit. So as and when we talk about the destinations, we can talk about these people who are in the forefront of, innovation, a forefront of development and building economies, not just running a corporation. Okay. Now, a little bit about Education Matters as an organization. We established in 2003, and our head office is in Chennai. We are on Nungambakam High Road. We also have a company-owned office based out of Himayat Nagar, Hyderabad. So in South India, these are the two offices that we operate out of. And right from identifying a university, helping you with admissions, helping you with visa processing, helping you with bank loans, putting you across to students who are already there at the university, giving you pre-departure briefing. We do not charge the student anything for our services. So from A to Z, all the information that you require will be provided by us, and we do not charge a student anything for our services because we work directly with the institutions. We're one of the very few organizations that have got the message of good wishes from not just the Queen of England, but also from our current Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi. Okay, we are also a part of something called the GECF, Global Education and Career Forum. We are their overseas education partner. GECF is a not-for-profit organization that helps Indians to be global citizens. So they just don't send students abroad for higher education, but they also do a lot of workshops in India, where we get faculty from abroad giving students information about the latest innovations, latest developments, what is the kind of salary that you can expect, what are the skills that you need to require and acquire during this stage in your life. All this we cover as a part of GECF. And GECF works with not just, students, they also work with a lot of public and private sector entities. So I can give you an example of USIEF. Now, USIEF is the education wing within the American Consulate. We also work very closely with Enterprise Ireland and Campus France, which are equivalent to a British Council when it comes to education within France and within Ireland. We also have strategic partners, Global Wales and Study Queensland. So Study Queensland is a part of the Australian initiative, and Study Wales is a part of the UK initiative for studying in these countries. So as a part of this, you can imagine how much of effort and how much of resources has been put into to bring this into fruition. And the people who are going to benefit this is not just the students, but also from faculty from various engineering and arts and science courses. Okay. So this is what we're trying to do. We are trying to give students as much as information as possible to, in short, to be successful in life. Okay. Now, among the various destinations that we cover, the first one that we're going to talk about is Australia. Over the last 2 years, Australia had completely locked their borders to international students, not just to international students, to everybody. It was very difficult for people to get into the country and for people who are in the country to come out because of the pandemic. From December 13th or December 15th, they opened their doors to international students. But what we have been able to note since they opened their doors is they've had a really tough time within the country, because over the last 2 years, there has been no immigration. So there are no PRs, no visas given for work permits because no international student has entered into the country. So what has happened is a shortage in human resource. So many of these companies are looking for manpower. So they have changed their rules since they opened their doors, making it favorable for international students to finish a course and stay back in the country. So if you look at the population, it is 5 crores. And 5 crores is a population equivalent to a state in India like Telangana or Delhi. Delhi's population is about 5 crores. The capital is Canberra. The currency is Australian dollar. The official language is English. And one of the most popular reasons why Australia is so popular is because it allows students to stay back once they finish their course. Australia is the 12th largest economy in the world, and it has the third highest human development index in the world. What that means is the quality of life that you have, the economic freedom that you have, the civil liberties you have, the political rights that you have is very, very high for people who live in Australia. And some of the major cities that students wish to study in is Sydney and Melbourne, besides Brisbane, Perth, Adelaide. Now, if you look at the top 10 destinations in the world to live in, you will see Sydney and Melbourne frequently seen in most of these rankings. Okay, they have very, very low unemployment rates, and crime rates are very low as well. Now, you can see this where I have actually struck this slide. And the reason for this is, initially when students looked at going to study in Australia, they were allowed to do part-time jobs. Okay, they were allowed to do 20 hours per week or 40 hours fortnightly. And the minimum wages here is 19 Australian dollars per hour. So on an average, student could make 24,000 Australian dollars just by doing part-time jobs. Okay. And when college is not in session, you can work full-time. So the rule was, in a year, academic year, you will have 8 months of classes and 4 months of holidays. During those 8 months of classes, you were able to work 20 hours per week or 40 hours fortnightly. And when college was not in session during semester breaks, during Christmas or New Year holidays, you were allowed to work full-time. And you were able to earn somewhere, worst case scenario, around 24,000 Australian dollars. And this is how students used to recoup the money that they invested on their education, besides getting a scholarship. Now look at the situation now. Because of the workforce shortage in Australia, Australia has said that any student who is coming into the country will have unlimited part-time work rights. So they've scraped to say you can work only 20 hours or you can work only 40 hours. They said you come into the country, enroll at a university, and you can work as much as part-time jobs you want. There is no restrictions. That gives you an idea as to how much of human resource shortage is there in Australia. Because 2 years, no Indian student or no Chinese student actually went to Australia to study because of the pandemic. So just imagine if this pandemic had gone a little longer, what all changes would have been there that the government would have initiated. And they've also told that any international student who is coming to Australia between 19th July and 19th March 2022, the money that they have invested on their visa application will be refunded back to them. So look at the extent these countries are going for human resource. And it was said that January 2022, there were 4 million vacancies as far as jobs were concerned in Australia. So this is a wonderful country to look at now, because there's a lot of opportunities for international students and a lot of possibilities where students can, whatever money that they have invested on their education, by the time they graduate, they would have recovered it. Okay. Now, if you are generally students who are looking from at an engineering or technology related background, they get the best salaries. So there are more jobs available in the technical side than the management side. So on an average, 76,000 is the Australian dollars is the average package that students get. So let's do a comparison. On an average here, most of the students who graduate from an engineering college get around 12 lakhs per annum or 11 lakhs per annum. Whereas just look at this. Let's take 70,000 just for multiplication sake, and you're multiplying it by 50 rupees, or the actual rate of Australian dollar is about 55. Let's for calculation take it as 50 rupees. You're able to earn at least 35 lakh rupees on your job. So the kind of money that you earn is also quite good here. And if you do a 2-year master's in Australia, once you finish the course, you're allowed to stay back 4 years and work. If you're finishing a PhD in Australia, once you finish your PhD, you can stay back in the country for 6 years. Australia is also planning to bring down their point-based system for immigration. So once you work there for 4 years, then you can actually migrate to that country by looking at the points that you have accumulated. And Australia is planning to bring that points down so that, more students are allowed to stay back in the country and get their PR. This is all the plus side of Australia. The minus side of Australia is it can be a little expensive if you don't get a scholarship, but that is avoided because of the amount of time they allow you to do part-time jobs. And the part-time wages in Australia is quite high when compared to other destinations. So most of the students are able to recover the money that they're investing on their education by the time they graduate. The second country that we are going to talk about is Canada. Now, as a part of this session, I just wanted to ask you, students, if you could use the chat box and let me know. Have you heard of something called the Great Resignation? Have you heard of something called the Great Resignation, students? If you have, can you please use the chat box and say yes or no? Thanks, Anand. Yes, I'm glad to know that you know of something called the Great Resignation. It has been affecting the Western countries quite a bit, and we are seeing the effects of that in the IT industry here. How many of you would have noticed that lately there has been news that 20% of staff from Infosys have quit? Many of the developed countries. In November, there was about 4 million vacancies in the US because massive people were quitting in massive numbers in the US. Not just in the US, in the UK as well. We are seeing that in Canada. We are seeing that in Australia as well. A large number of large number of people are quitting their jobs. Why are they quitting suddenly? The reason for this is that when you are sitting at home and working over a pandemic that has, controlled the world for 2 years, people start to rethink their priorities. Some of the people were not happy with their job, so they immediately, when the time permitted, the occasion permitted, they quit their job. A large number of people wanted flexible timing. They wanted more wages. They were not happy with their employers. They quit. Some people decided that this is not the job they want to do. Their passion is something else, and they have quit. Some of them have become entrepreneurs. And yes, schools and colleges have opened, but many of the daycare centers and primary schools are yet to open. So working mothers are not able to send their children to school, so they have to sit at home and work. And any organization that says that you have to come to the office and work is not good enough for these parents. So basically, a lot of people are quitting right, left, and center. Also, people who are close to retirement are taking their COVID benefits and retiring early, because they know that if they go to work, they are more prone to catch the virus than many of the other people, because these people would be have a lot of comorbid issues. Not only that, lots of people from all walks of life, all age groups have passed away because of this COVID. So there's a lot of vacancies and a lot of jobs happening because of this. And students, this is the best time to utilize this opportunity and try to get yourself a job quickly. And the best way to enter these countries is through a student visa. Now, another popular destination is Canada. And Canada on and off have been closing that when the pandemic is at its peak, they close their borders. When the numbers of cases reduce, they open their borders. So over the last 2 years, we have had students going into the country, and we've had students who do at least the first semester in India because of the pandemic would be at its peak, and then they would travel to the Canada when the borders open. So at present, the borders are open from May 2021. The borders have been open, and students are going to Canada and getting their visas and pursuing their degree. Now, why is Canada so popular? Let's do a little bit of comparison here. Okay, Canada is the second largest country in the world, and look at their population. It's 5 crores. India is the seventh largest country in the world, and we have a population of 130 crores. And if you remember, in a couple of slides ago, I said 5 crores is the population that you see in Delhi, or the population that you see in Telangana. So the entire population of Canada can be put into one state in India. And it is the second largest country in the world. And if you look at the average age of the population, it is close to 40 years. So they're slowly going into retirement. Birth rates are declining. They don't have fresh blood to take over the existing jobs. So Canada, since 2009, has made it easy for Indian students to get into the country, pursue a course, and stay back. They have two official languages. One is English, which most of Canada follows, and that is the language of business. But if you look at Quebec, whose capital is Montreal, they are a French province. They are a province that is fighting for their autonomy. So if you do not know French, please do not look at Quebec or Montreal as destinations for higher education. Stick to the other provinces in Canada. Another reason why Canada is extremely popular is because of the post-study work rights and permanent residency that is offered to international students. I told you that in Australia, they made it easier for students to get their PR, and they made work rights, part-time work rights non-existent. So Canada too, because of they were not able to meet their immigration objectives, many of the students immediately on graduation over the last 2 years have been able to get their PR. And they are still trying to do the same thing this year as well, because there is a whole lot of demand in Canada. Any course under the sun is popular here. It's the 10th largest economy in the world. Third largest oil reserve in the world is seen here, and it's the second largest country in the world, as I mentioned, after Russia. And most of the students who study in Canada wish to study in basically two cities rather. Toronto, which is the largest city and the most multicultural city in the world, and Vancouver. Okay. Now, unfortunately, Canada allows students to only do part-time jobs 20 hours per week when college is in session, and 40 hours when college is not in session, unlike Australia, where you have unlimited part-time job rights. So on an average, students are able to earn somewhere around 18,000 Canadian dollars by doing part-time jobs. Please note here, $1 and $1 is almost the same rate when you convert it into rupees. It's about 55 rupees. Now, I've broken down the kind of salaries that you get. It's almost on par with what you get in Australia. Here, you have to do a 2-year program. You're allowed to stay back 3 years. In Australia, you are allowed to stay back for 4 years. But here, you're allowed to stay back only for 3 years. And once you finish your first year of stay, you can apply for a PR. So that is, do a 2-year program, work for 1 year, and you can apply for a PR. There are provinces in Canada, especially Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, where they say that you don't have to wait so long. Just study in our province for 1 year, work in our province for 6 months, and we will give you a PR. You can apply for it. Same country, but 2 different rules. The reason for this is that many of the provinces are like the popular provinces or the popular cities like Toronto and Vancouver are down south. So their temperature is a lot more favorable. More favorable in the sense, Vancouver, it does not snow, but it rains heavily. Toronto peak winter temperatures are minus 20 degrees. So there is heavy snowfall, and you have to be careful if you're used to the Chennai heat. So Toronto peak winter temperatures can be as low as minus 20 degrees. But if you're looking at Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Manitoba, the peak winter temperatures are minus 40 degrees. So it's not just about wearing a jacket and covering your hands, but it's covering any part of your body that is exposed to elements, because you will get a frostbite. So in spite of that, Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Manitoba, the seats get filled the most quickly because PR opportunities are much easier in Saskatchewan, Alberta, and Manitoba. So the minus side of Canada is the weather. If you're used to the Chennai heat and you can't take the cold, or you have any medical condition that exacerbates during peak winter temperatures like asthma or something, then please do not look at Canada. The third country that we are going to talk about is Ireland. Everybody has heard about Australia, Canada, US, UK. So, what is this about Ireland? Why are you talking so much about Ireland? This is the new kid on the block. And this is one country that we request students to consider because of the immense opportunities that is there for international students. The population is only 4.5 crores. The capital is Dublin. The currency is important. See, it is euros. That means it is a part of the European Union. It is the only European Union country where English is the official language. If you look at Germany, you need to know German. If you want to study in France, you need to know French. But this is the only European Union country where English is the official language. So once you get into Ireland, the entire European Union, about 26, 27 countries, is open to you. So it's not just about going on a holiday and visiting France, Germany, etc., but it's also looking out for work opportunities in these countries. Again, post-study work options and green card is available here. Now, this is one country that never closed its borders to international students, even during peak pandemic. And why? If you look at the top 10 biotech pharmaceutical companies in the world, 8 of the top 10 have their European headquarters here. So vaccinations were easily accessible. They were able to vaccinate the crowd, bring the COVID under control. And, we had students who went to Ireland for September 2020, Jan 2021, September 2021, and Jan 2022. So their economy has not been hit by the pandemic. And the other reason is we believe ourselves to be very, very strong in IT, right? US is strong. We are also very strong. US is the biggest country when it comes to, the Fortune 500 IT companies. Most of them have their headquarters here. But the second largest exporter for software engineering in the world is Ireland. Of the Fortune 500 IT companies, 9 out of the top 10 have their European headquarters based out of Ireland. So anybody who is looking at anything related to IT, like you have the Silicon Valley in the US, you have something called the Silicon Docks in Ireland, which is extremely popular and is looking at manpower every single day. There are about 1,000 vacancies every week in the IT sector in Ireland, and the pay is extremely good. Okay, so if you're looking at the best university in Ireland, it is called Trinity College Dublin, and it is on par with University of Oxford and Cambridge. If you go on to Trinity College Dublin's website and you will see that it is a sister to University of Oxford and Cambridge. The problem with Ireland is they don't promote themselves, but the students who have got into Ireland, even before they graduate, they have at least 5 offers from companies in their hand. So they can pick and choose who they want to work with. That is the situation that Ireland is facing now. Okay. Now, Ireland too allows you to do part-time jobs. You're able to earn somewhere around 13,000 euros by doing part-time jobs. And €1 is now equivalent to somewhere between 75 and 80 rupees. So the euro rate is slightly higher than the Australian or the Canadian dollar. Now, one thing that you have to note about Ireland is all their master's degrees are just 1 year. So the money that you invest on your education is only 1 year. You graduate much quicker and you look out for a job much faster. And once you finish your 1 year master's, you're allowed to stay back an additional 2 years and work. At the end of which, based on your salary, you can apply for your green card. Now, anybody who is looking at the technical subject, the minimum salary they should have to get their green card is 30,000 euros. And the average starting salary for an IT professional or engineering professional within Ireland is somewhere between 42 and 47,000 euros. So you easily clear the minimum requirement when it comes to the green card. So a wonderful destination to look at. When you look at Canada, US, Australia, the competition is there. Like UK and US has seen more than 100% increase in the number of students looking at studying in these countries. So almost 3 lakh Indian students are looking at these countries annually. Whereas if you look at Ireland, the number of students from India who look at Ireland as a destination is in thousands. So getting a job on graduation is much higher. Competition is lower. And Ireland is one country where they have only one intake in a year. Generally, 90% of the institutions have only a September intake. So this is both a boon and a bane. A boon in the sense, you know, once you finish your course, you have one solid year to look out for a job before the next batch graduates and come out. If you look at Australia or Canada or US or UK, every 4 to 5 months, a batch will be graduating, because many of these universities have multiple intakes in a year. They definitely have a September and a Jan, and many of them have a May intake as well. So every 4 months, there'll be a group of students who are graduating. Whereas if you look at Ireland, it takes 1 year for the next group of students to graduate. So the competition again is a lot lesser. And it is a bane, because if you miss out on September 2022, then the alternate intake is September 2023. There's no other intake in between. The next country that we are going to cover is UK. And like Shivakumar sir said, UK has now said, okay, we cannot deal with the COVID anymore. It has now turned out just like a flu. We have flus during peak winter temperatures. It's just like that. So now we are going to stop testing. We are asking people to get to work. We are not going to ask people to wear masks. It's reached that situation in the US. In the UK. So they have a population of 7 crores. The capital is London. The currency is pound sterling. So from January 2020, UK has come out of the European Union, and their official language is English. Now, why is UK so popular now? Why is there a lot of students looking at UK at this point in time? I don't know how many of you are following the latest news, but there's a lot of direct foreign investments happening in the UK from India, and also vice versa. There's something called the Roadmap 2030 that Prime Minister Boris Johnson and Prime Minister Modi has signed, where they are going to make sure that there is going to be development in the area of research between two countries, in jobs between two countries, education between two countries, migration, where people from India can settle in the UK and work, and where people from UK can come to India and work. So there's a lot of these developments happening, and we are seeing a lot of investments happening in the UK and India because of this. And a perfect example I can give you is, all of us have heard of, when the pandemic began, one of the most common company names that we heard was Serum Institute of India. Till then, I don't know how many of us knew about Serum Institute of India. In spite of being in India, we never knew that it was the largest vaccine maker in the world. For many of us. But now Serum Institute of India has invested 2,400 crores in the UK for research and for development of their production plan for various vaccines. So you can see the kind of investment that is happening. So this is a good time to study in the UK, because there's a lot of investments from India happening in the UK. And one thing that you have to note about UK is, like I mentioned, on Jan 1st, 2020, they came out of the European Union. So one fine day, about 1 million European Union nationals had to leave the country. And within 2 or 3 months, UK had to close their borders because of the COVID. So what has happened is, there is a lot of human resource shortage in UK at this point in time. And they are giving visas to students right, left, and center. It's the 5th largest economy in the world. It's the 2nd largest host country in terms of higher education. And it's got the 16th highest world human development index. London, like I mentioned, is the largest financial center alongside New York and Japan, or Tokyo in Japan. Some of the biggest universities in the world is based out of here. If you look at the top 100 universities in the world, almost 30% of the universities would be from the US, 20% will be from the UK. And of the 20%, you have the oldest and the most highly ranked university here, which is University of Oxford. Okay. Now, UK too allows you to do part-time jobs within or outside the campus, and on an average, you're able to earn something around £10,000, and £1 is approximately now 105 to 113 rupees. So the pound rate has just gone up massively. Now, again, like Ireland, master's program in the UK are 1 year, but if you want to do a 2-year program, that too is possible. So the 2-year program, how it works is 1 year you will study, and the second year, the university will assist you in placements where you're working full time for 1 year. It could be in the industry, it could be research within the university campus, it could be working for an NGO, it could be community service, it doesn't matter. You will have 1 year of study and 1 year of internship. And generally, this internship is paid. Students get paid somewhere between 12 to 18,000 pounds while doing this internship. So the advantage of this is, one, I get my master's degree. Two, I get 1 year of solid work experience in the industry. Three, because this internship is paid, whatever money I'm investing on my education, I'm able to get back. Last but not the least, if I prove myself capable during this internship, that company itself might recruit me. Because once I finish my course, I'm allowed to stay back an additional 2 years and work. Following which, from October 2020, UK has introduced a point-based system. If you get 70 points, then you can actually get your work permit and migrate to that country and get your PR subsequently. So this internship goes a long way in helping you get that job. This internship is not guaranteed. It depends upon your grades and how you perform during the interview with the industry. So this is an option that you could look at, and we recommend students to look at this option because it gives them a lot more exposure and a lot more industrial knowledge as well. Okay. The last country that we are going to cover is US. Population is much higher because it is a huge country, 32 crores. Capital is Washington, DC. Currency is the US dollar, which is about 76, 77 rupees. And again, one country which is not looking at COVID like a huge situation at this point in time, especially this cycle. Though there are a lot of people getting admitted in the hospital, the death rate is very, very low. The death rate is higher in the US among the anti-vaccine community. There's a lot of people in the US who are hesitant to take the vaccine. We've seen one such example with a very famous tennis player who went to Australia and was deported. So there is a huge lobby that is against vaccines, and these are the people who are landing up in the hospital in large numbers. It is the second largest economy in the world. Last week of December, China overtook US as the world's largest economy. So it's the second largest economy in the world, but the leading host country when it comes to higher education. Most of the students who look at US want to study in New York or Las Vegas or Chicago or Los Angeles, Dallas, Houston, Boston, Denver, closer to the Silicon Valley. If you look at US, 30% of the world's millionaires live here, and 44% of the world's billionaires are from here as well. So like I mentioned, almost 30% of the highest universities ranked in the world is based out of the US. Now, one difference between US and the other countries is during the first year in the US, you are allowed to work only within the campus. And this is the reason why research assistantships and teaching assistantships are very, very important in the US. Because during the first year, you're not allowed to work outside the campus. Even during the second year, you have to show proof that you are financially in very dire states. And then you have to get permission from the government and from the university, and only then are you allowed to work outside the campus. So most students during their master's program work within the university campus. And to get that research assistantship, a GRE or a GMAT score goes a long way. So on an average, students are able to earn around $9,000 by doing part-time jobs in campus. Now, let's talk about the current visa situation in the US. Now, students are able to get only a 2-year visa. So, they get a visa for the duration of the course. During the second year of your master's, you approach the government and request for an extension. Based on the grades that you have received, the university that you have selected, the skill shortage in that sector during that point in time, looking at the fact as to whether you're a genuine student or not, the university will decide, the government will decide whether they want to give you an extension or not. So you might get the extension, you might not get the extension. So during the second year, you have to request for the extension. Now, if you get the extension, what kind of extension do you get? If you're looking at science, technology, engineering, or mathematics, you get an extension for 3 years. If you're looking at a purely business program, you get an extension for 1 year. Even if you get an extension for 3 years, if you're looking after doing a STEM related program, within 120 days, if you do not have a job, this 3 years extension will be cancelled. If you're doing a purely business program, within 90 days, if you do not get yourself a job, this extension will be cancelled. Okay, so that's something that you guys have to note if you are looking at US. So that if you're looking at US during the second year, make full use of all the opportunities given to you and try to land yourself a job immediately on graduation. Those of you who are looking at the business program, try to select programs which have technical subjects also included in it, like MBA in business analytics, MBA in technology management, or masters in engineering management, masters in project management related to engineering. So those kind of programs also come, many of those programs also come under STEM. So you will be able to utilize the 3-year post-study work option. So those of you who are looking at a business and management program, look at these kind of subject areas, which will allow you to stay that additional 2 years. Now, if you are looking at Australia, we'll just briefly mention the qualifying examinations and the entry criteria. If you're looking at Australia, there are 3 sets of universities. You have G8, which is the top 100 universities in Australia, and top 100 universities in the world. You will see these universities. So University of Melbourne, I think, is, according to the QS 2022 ranking, is ranked 26th in the world, if I remember right. So these are universities which are among the top 100 in the world. They are very research focused. Because of their high ranking, their tuition fees on the higher side, so is their entry criteria. The next group of universities is called the technological universities. These universities are between 100 and 200 when it comes to world ranking. They give equal emphasis to teaching and research. So their entry criteria and tuition fee is slightly on the lower side. The regional universities are universities that are not based out of big cities, but are based out of second or third cities or a small town or village. So their entry criteria and tuition fee is the lowest. When you look at UK, you have traditional universities like your Oxford, Cambridge, Glasgow, Edinburgh. After Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial College London and University College London, which are among the top 10 universities in the world. The next lot is University of Edinburgh, which is, I believe, is ranked 16th according to the QS World Ranking. So their entry criteria is on the higher side. Their tuition fee is also on the higher side. The next set of universities called the modern universities, and these are the universities that concentrate more on employment, and these are the universities that give you internships as a part of the course. So their entry criteria and tuition fees on the lower side. Canada, this is something that you have to note. If you have above 70%, you can target Canadian universities. If you have below 70%, you can target only Canadian colleges. Universities give you a master's degree, colleges give you a postgraduate diploma. In spite of this, 75% of the students who go to Canada to study look at colleges rather than universities. And if you have more than 8 history of arrears over a period of 4 years, you are not eligible for Canada. So please look at your mark sheets and check out how many history of arrears you have. If it is more than 8, that is, if it's the same paper you have written 4 times, it is considered as 4 history of arrears. So if you have more than 8 history of arrears, please do not look at Canada. Ireland and New Zealand, they have both universities and institutes of technologies. Universities, the entry criteria and tuition fees on the higher side. Institutes of technology also offers you a master's degree, but their tuition fee and entry criteria is slightly on the lower side. Now, when you're interested in studying of any of these countries, there are a few qualifying examinations that you have to take. If you're looking at US, there are basically 2 examinations. One is the English language examination, and the other is your GRE or GMAT. If you're taking up the IELTS, it should be IELTS 6.5, no less than 6 in each module. If it's TOEFL, it is 79. If it is PTE, it is somewhere around 53. So one of these examinations is mandatory. Either the IELTS or the TOEFL or PTE, please take up. As far as the GRE or GMAT is concerned, for fall 2022, US, many of the universities in the US have canceled the GRE, GMAT, and they're not looking at it. A good GRE score, but we still recommend students to take up a GRE or a GMAT. A good GRE score is anything above 305, and a good GMAT score is anything above 600. 550 is an average score. Now, the reason why we recommend students to take up a GRE or a GMAT is, one, it increases your chances of getting a scholarship. 2, if 2 students with the same profile is there and they want to decide who they want to give the scholarship to or who they want to give admission to, the student who has the GRE score will be given preference. Now, the third reason is that a lot of students are now applying to US universities. And once they get their admissions, quite a few of them will be applying for their visas. Now, like I said, there is over 100% increase in the number of students looking at US as a destination for higher education. And the visa rejections are also going to be high. So there was a time when there was 45% of the students who went into the American consulate for their visas were rejected. And we'll see that kind of thing happening again. So you do not want to give the visa officer a reason for rejecting you. He might just say you are not a genuine student because you don't have a GRE or a GMAT. So from that perspective also, we request students to take a GRE or a GMAT because it improves the chances of getting a visa. Not that it is mandatory. UK, you need only an English language examination. That too, if in your standard 10th and 12th English, you have about 70%, then many of the universities will waive off the English requirement. So you don't need to take up any qualifying examination. Australia, again, an English language examination is mandatory. Even in Canada, it's only an English language examination that is mandatory. New Zealand, again, English. France, they will do a interview, Zoom or Skype interview with you. And if they're happy with the kind of response you give, they will give you an offer. There is no examination, either English or GRE, GMAT that is required. Germany will ask you for an English language examination. They will ask you for 2 levels of German language examination result. Plus the high-end universities might ask you for a GRE or a GMAT. Ireland, again, it is only an English language examination that you require. The last slide, the documents that you require to process your application. If you're looking at pursuing higher education abroad, then these are the documents we require. We require your 10th, 12th, and diploma mark sheet, your UG mark sheet approved the present semester. If you've finished your course and then you're applying, we need your provisional certificate and your degree certificate. If you have taken up any of these examinations like IELTS, TOEFL, GRE, GMAT, we require this code. We also require your CV or resume. When it comes to US, we require 3 reference letters. Other countries will ask you, US and Canada generally ask for 3 reference letters. The other destinations will ask you only for 2 reference letters. And these should be on the college letterhead with the college seal. Please do not give 2 reference letters with the same matter, only the signature and sign at the bottom is signature and the name at the bottom is different. They should be 2 totally different reference letters. Because if you keep the same reference letters, universities are now rejecting those applications. If you have work experience, please keep your work experience letter. Another document that is extremely strong, needed, and extremely contributes quite a bit to your admission is your statement of purpose. Every other document tells us how you are as a student academically. A statement of purpose tells us about your weaknesses, about your strengths, why you want to study abroad, where you see yourself immediately on graduation, 5 years on graduation. What is your ambitions? What is your aspirations? All this can be mentioned in an SOP. So again, if you are a borderline student or they want to know who they want to give the scholarship to, they will look at the SOP as well. So it's a very, very strong document that is needed when it comes to overseas higher education. We also require an application fee if it is requested by the university. 99% of the universities in UK and in New Zealand do not have an application fee. 50% of the universities in US, Australia, and Ireland have an application fee. Almost all the institutions in Canada have an application fee. They don't give you a waiver. So if there is an application fee, please make sure that is included as well. Plus, we need a passport copy, front and back pages. Now, if you're looking at any program that has got, like design, architecture, animation, computer graphics, then your portfolio of work is also very important. Many of the universities, not just US and Australia now, are asking for financial documents once you are given an offer. So once they consider you and they say that you're eligible for the program and they're ready to give you an offer, they will ask you for your financial documents. So make sure that that is also ready. The last thing that most US universities ask is for hard copies to be sent to the university. But because of the current pandemic situation, many of the faculties and many of the admissions officers are working out of home. So they are avoiding this because you will have to send these materials to their personal email IDs, which is not recommended. So many of the universities are now waiving off this request of sending hard copies to the universities. So one thing that I didn't cover here is scholarships. All these countries give you scholarships. I think the worst of the lot that gives you minimal scholarship is Canada. Canada is the worst when it comes to scholarships. There is very, very few scholarships available from Canadian universities or colleges. But scholarship basically depends upon how well your undergraduate degree is, what your grades are for that. So the higher the percentage of marks you have, the higher the IELTS score you have, the better your SOP is, the better your GRE, GMAT score is, the higher the chances of getting your scholarship. It's very difficult for us to say how much of a scholarship you will get because it depends upon the quality of applications that come to the university that particular year. But on an average, we can tell you that any student who's got above 70% stands a good chance of getting scholarships. And that can vary anywhere between 10% of the tuition fee to about 50% of the tuition fee. And if you're an extremely bright student with a lot of research knowledge and a lot of research experience, then that scholarship amount can be bigger. So it is the prerogative of the university to decide how much of a scholarship they want to give you. Now, my contact details, my email ID is mentioned here. So is the contact details and email ID of my branch managers, Kavita Asthana from the Hyderabad office and Vijay from the Chennai office. So all of you who are interested in getting information from us, please keep in touch with us and then we can give you the required information regarding whichever country or course, because we have the entire database of the popular universities and the popular courses that all these countries that we just covered and many more that we didn't cover involved with us. So that brings us to the end of the session. If you have any doubts, probably in the next 5 minutes, I can, clarify any doubts that you may have. So if you can use the chat box and ask me the doubts that you have, I'll try to clear them here. Any doubts? If you have doubts, please unmute your mic and ask me, or you can, use the chat box, whichever is convenient.
Ma'am, can you share this PDF if we WhatsApp you?
Unfortunately, this PDF is something that we have a policy of not to share. So it is going to be a little difficult for us to share this PDF because it is against the company's policies to share this PDF. But whatever information that you want, you can ask me. I can, any point in time, clarify it for you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Sorry about that. Any other questions? If you have any questions. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am. This is Ravindra. I'm studying third year. I have a research in US about cyber security. I have some colleges in my mind.
Your line is breaking.
IT cyber security.
Yeah, now it's better. Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Hello?
Your line is breaking. I can't.
I can hear you, ma'am.
No, it's breaking.
We cannot hear you. Your audio is breaking.
Oh, hello, ma'am. Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Okay, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. My name is Raghavendra. Good afternoon, ma'am. Sorry for the inconvenience. The thing is, I want to do my master's in US, ma'am.
Okay.
Related to IT, cyber security.
Okay.
Appreciation, but unfortunate situation in my first semester, I got 3 arrears, ma'am. But I cleared that in the lockdown. No, there is no history of arrears. Will it affect my admissions in what university I am looking for?
Not necessarily. Since it's only 3 history of areas, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. The other thing that they will also look at is you have 3 history of areas. With what percentage of marks did you clear them? And in which area is these 3 history of areas? Okay, so if you're planning to study cyber security, they will want to know if any of these modules are important for pursuing a master's in cyber security. So that's one thing that they will look at. The second thing they will look at is, okay, you have these 3 areas. With what percentage of marks did you clear them? So anything below 8 is considered okay when it comes to areas.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm good.
Ma'am, except for Ireland, what other European countries would you suggest to go without any language barriers?
That's the problem. Ireland is the only one which offers, where the official language is English. Any other country that you go to, they say a lot of people in Netherlands speak English. I am yet to see that because I work with quite a few universities in Netherlands. And whenever we try to follow up with a student's offer, they just keep, saying, okay, just hold on 1 second, we'll transfer the call to somebody else who can speak English. And then it just keeps moving that way. So they say there are a lot of people who speak English in Netherlands, but unfortunately, I haven't seen that. Same in the case of Sweden. These are 2 countries where there's a lot more people who speak in English. But if you're looking at a country where the official language is English and where business is conducted in English, then it's only Ireland.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. This is Nitin.
Yes, Nitin, how can I help you?
Well, I've been actually doing all my education in India, but I have a US citizenship. So I would like to know, is there anything such?
See, if you are a US citizen, the advantage that you have is, let me be very frank with you, any international student who goes to study in any of these countries, the tuition fee that they pay is very, very high. But if you are a citizen of the US, the tuition fee that you pay to whichever university that you're looking at will be very, very low. And preference will be given first to the nationals of the country, then to international students. So from that perspective, Nitin, based on which university you're planning to study, it will be advantageous because you have a citizenship from the US.
Yes, ma'am. But I'm aware of the in-state tuition fee scheme, and
Yes.
what should I do to get qualified as an in-state tuition student?
It depends. Some of the universities might say that you might have to stay in the country for a while. It might be a year or two. Some might say that, but depending upon where you said where you have an American passport, and where were you born, and what is the address on the passport?
Colombo, Ohio.
Okay, so probably that would be the state that you should be targeting, where you might get in-state tuition fees.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, I'm Abhimanyu. I am currently doing aeronautical engineering in Hindustan, Chennai.
Mm-hmm.
I'm planning on going to Canada for my pilot training. So I want to know if there's any scholarship for like flight school will provide you scholarships or like that. Some
Unfortunately, Canada is one country that very rarely offers scholarship. Very, very, very rarely. And it will be about, if they're offering also, it will be about maximum 1,000 Canadian dollars or 2,500 Canadian dollars. Nothing more than that. They're very, very finicky when it comes to scholarships.
all right, ma'am. Ma'am, do you have any other advice? Because I'm going to Canada for flight training, so flies of in flight school. So is there any advice you could give me?
See, I will tell you what students are doing. If you want to bring down your expenses in Canada, this is an alternative that students do. What I told you, that you have masters and you have postgraduate diplomas, right? The postgraduate diplomas are a cheaper option when compared to masters. The postgraduate diploma, the tuition fee is about 8 to 10 lakhs for 1 year. So what students tend to do is they do a 2 year postgraduate diploma, and then they work for 1 year and apply for a PR. Once they get their PR and they're equivalent to a Canadian national, then they start looking at opportunities within highly ranked universities for admissions and for pursuing whatever degree that they are interested in. Because once they get their PR, a tuition fee that is perhaps 15 lakhs will come down to 50,000 or 1 lakh or 2 lakhs maximum when you have that PR. So if you are looking at an alternative to bring down your tuition fee, do a program for 2 years, work for 1 year, get your PR, and then follow your dreams. This is just an alternative if you can wait for some more time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Any other question? Any other questions? Anybody?
Yes, ma'am. One more question.
Yes, Mr. Nitin.
Ma'am, how good you should be to get into the top 100 QS universities?
Really, really good, because the top 100, see, the US ones are extremely difficult to get into. The UK, Australian ones are a lot more lenient, because UK and Australia primarily look at only academics. But if you are looking at something like the MITs and the Harvards and the Oxfords or Cambridges, then they are not looking at only academics, but they're also looking at your SOP. They are looking at your research experience. They are looking at the amount of social work that you've done. They're also looking at what extracurricular you have done. Because most of these universities, it's very easy for them to get a student who is 90 plus or 80 plus. But what is it that you can contribute to the university or college community is what they're looking at. So we have students, like another example I can give you is NUS in Singapore. There was one point in time, at an undergraduate level also, at least 100, 200 Indian students used to go to NUS every year to study. That has trickled down to almost 5 or 10 or 15 Indian students. The reason for this is not that they have jacked up their entry criteria. They have shifted most of their admissions to the domestic students, but they're looking at something, that spark that is there in the international students. So they're saying, we're not looking at, we can get as many students who we want who are above 90% and who's got a near perfect GRE score. But what we are looking at is that spark. It could be in terms of the research experience that you have done, or the work that you have done on graduation, or it could be your extracurriculars where you're a gold medalist in Olympiad, or you have done a project or something with the IITs or something that where you got a medal. It could be that, or it could be the kind of social service that you do. So everything is taken into consideration when you're looking at this, the top 100 universities. Slightly, if you're looking at universities below 50, then the chances of getting admissions are higher. But the top 50 will look at all these criteria, not just the marks.
Yes, ma'am. Another doubt. Let's hypothetically say that I'm taking a break year after my UG, and I'm not doing anything, no work experience, nothing. I'm just studying for my GRE, IELTS, and probably doing courses here and there. Should that affect my application at the university?
That won't affect your applications, provided you keep yourself occupied and you have the proof to show this is what I've been doing. So, like, we had students who applied to US universities, and because of the COVID, they weren't doing anything. They graduated and they said no jobs available, and they were sitting at home. Those guys have got hit. But any student who is able to show a few certificates of a few online courses, a month here, 2 months there, they were able to get their admissions to the same institution. So they don't want to see a student sitting idle. They want to know that he's been doing, even though he's taken a year off. There's a lot of students, especially in the US and the UK and the Western countries, who take a year off and travel the world and come back. That is also considered educational by most of these universities.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, I have one more doubt.
Yes, Abhimanyu.
Yes, as per the report I made, in Canada, I need to spend around 55 lakhs to get my CPL, commercial pilot.
Yeah.
So I go there and do a master's degree and then get PR and then go for pilot training. I want to know how much this 55 lakhs will reduce.
It's almost by 70%.
So you would suggest it's better I do a master's degree over there, get PR, and then go for pilot training.
Yeah, if you are conscious about the the funding, then it makes sense to do. I wouldn't suggest even a master's. A PG diploma is also fine.
Okay, ma'am. Okay,
because it's a lot cheaper. You can do PG diplomas related to aviation.
How much will that cost, ma'am, around PG diplomas in Canada?
It will be 8 to 10 lakhs.
For 2 years?
Yeah, per year.
Per year, 8 to
10. We've had students who finished a 2-year PG diploma and then not look at a master's degree as well, because they've got their dream jobs. So in India, we have a system where we say, okay, a diploma or a PG diploma is beneath a bachelor's or a master's degree. But in Canada, it is a diploma or a PG diploma that perhaps lands you your dream job, because the masters are more theory focused. The lecturers who take classes for you are continuously doing research and taking classes. And there'll be about 100, 150 students in a class. But if you're looking at a PG diploma, there'll be only 50 students in a class, and the people who take classes for you, the lecturers, are people with 15, 20 years of work experience in the industry and taking classes for you.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Ma'am, studying in the US, you got any tips for financial aid?
There are a lot of tips, but the fact is that because you are a citizen of the US, I don't think it will be too much of a burden on you when compared to an international student. There are a lot of tips in the sense, you can look at state universities and not look at private universities. The state universities, highly ranked state universities, because the tuition fee is slightly lower than that. Try to get a good GRE score, because any good GRE or a GMAT score will help you get a good scholarship, or a research assistantship and a teaching assistantship. The fact also remains that a good SOP, good extracurriculars, like I mentioned, anything related to research. If you can do some research, do some paper publications, all this will help you get that financial aid. even if you're strong in extracurricular. I've had a student who was a good cricket player. He didn't play for the IPL or anything else, but he was a really good cricket player, and his entire tuition and living accommodation expenses was taken care of by the government of Australia. So
Same thing applies for US also, right?
it applies for all countries. It depends upon where you, extracurricular is also given a lot of importance.
Because due to pandemic, I did lot of courses in online, ma'am, just various platforms.
They will all be, and if you have taken, courses in, Harvard, Cambridge, London School of Economics, Brown, they're all doing summer courses, online courses, which are free and at a nominal rate. If you take those courses, the chances of getting admission is much, much higher because you have done an online program from UCLA or from Brown or from MIT. So those are also taken, given a lot of weightage.
So it will compromise my arrears, or they will especially look into that also, ma'am?
They will
in arrears also.
It is useful.
Okay.
It is useful.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? So I think we can bring the session to an end. I am really sorry that it took me some time to join because of the internet connectivity, but thank you very much. Final year students, I understand your exams are around the corner. All the very best for your exams. May you pass out in flying colors. But most importantly, irrespective of whether you're looking at going abroad to study or studying in India or going to work, may all your dreams and aspirations come true. God bless. And thank you very much, Hindustan as well as King's College, for giving me this opportunity to address the students. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the management, the faculty, the placement officers, the principal, vice principal, teachers, and most importantly, all of you. A special thanks to Shiv Kumar sir for.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It's in fact our duty to give you thanks. Thank you. It was very informative session. I thank one and all from Education Matters and the participants also. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.